What's up, nerds? It's your boy, the OG GM. It's 8:30 in the morning. It is the 13th day of September 2022. It's about 70 degrees and sunny here at Site B again. I have a big red spot on my face because Kitten likes to sleep on my face. And kittens have sharp claws. Yeah, but it's worth it because he's cute. All right, it's time for some GM tips because I got nothing else to talk to today. So let's toss out some GM tips. And today's GM tip is about time-saving tricks. You know I complain a lot about GMs not being prepared and GMs getting themselves in positions where they're just fumbling and players not being prepared and players wasting time. Wasting time is a big one, especially with me. You know, I'm an adult now. I've got a lot of stuff going on, not only trying to make this YouTube profitable, but, you know, working with my brother and Team Primetime and family issues and mental and emotional health issues and physical issues. So when I'm sitting down for a game and I know the game's only going to be 2-3 hours, I want to be laser focused on that game because the game is fun for me. And I don't want that fun distracted with bullshit shit that I don't care about. I'm sorry, I don't. I would rather not play, or if we're going to just sit around and bullshit, then let's not play D&D. Let's just sit around and bullshit. My brain is very compartmentalized. It's probably a bad thing. It's a lot to do with my OCD and my dyslexia and my autism. But it's like when I sit down to play D&D, I'm in D&D mode. So if we spend 3 hours wasting time, I'm angry, I'm frustrated. I'm like, look, this isn't fun for me because I don't care. I want to play. So let's toss out some time-saving tricks that DMs can use to avoid this dead space. So number one is character maintenance fee. All right. So a big time waste is characters and players get obsessed with shopping and just going around the town and looking for that best deal on 50 foot of rope and whining because the magic bow isn't magic enough, or they can't find the thing, or, you know, how many arrows do I need? How many hirelings do I need? How much shit can I carry? So one rule I like is just to set aside a monthly maintenance fee. Say every month, just subtract 100 gold pieces from your character, and then just assume that as long as it's not magic, your character has it. You know, if it's like under 5 gold pieces, don't worry about it. I'm just going to assume your character has rope, you have a staff, you have lantern, you have torches, you've got ammunition, you've got a first aid kit. You don't have magic shit, but you know what? If you feel like you really need a ladder or portable ram, I'm not going to waste an hour of you wandering around town trying to find it. I'm just like, yeah, sure, fuck it, you have a ladder, okay? And I'm not going to worry about, and don't worry about encumbrance either, unless you're playing hardcore. If you're not playing hardcore, don't worry about ammunition, don't worry about encumbrance. It's just like, you know what? You can carry it. I don't care. I don't know how you're carrying 10,000 gold pieces in a solid gold bathtub, but I don't care. If it's important for your character to have it on them, you got it. I don't want to waste time with things like my encumbrance and how many arrows do I have and can I carry this solid gold bathtub or not. It's like, look, just you know what? You've got hirelings, you've got a mule, you can carry the shit. Don't worry about it, okay? Don't waste time with things like hirelings, you know, unless it's important to your character and important to the story for you to have a mule. Like, it's very important to me in almost every game I play lately to have a mule, because I'm always worried about like extra food and stuff like that. But, you know, that's me. I would generally assume as a game master, and I think unless you're playing a hardcore game at this point in time with the way the hobby works and the, you know, especially with the fantasy genre and stuff like that, then just don't worry about encumbrance. Don't worry about gear. You know, armor, weapons, stuff like that. Yeah, that you can worry about. But arrows, no, just you've got arrows. Don't worry about it. You know, food, you've got food. Don't worry about it. Torches, you've got torches. Okay? So that's time saving number one. Don't let them waste 3 frickin' hours wandering around town to look for how they're going to store that 10,000 gold piece bathtub, or if they need hirelings, or that one extra arrow. Okay? Now moving on to magic things. I was just recently in a situation where a guy was like whining for almost a half an hour because the magic bow that he just bought wasn't magic enough for him. So if you want to let them buy magic items in town, great. I wouldn't recommend it. But other than like cheap shit, like sure, you can buy some healing potions. Maybe you can buy some scrolls. But that's about it. You should have enough stuff on your character to survive generally. And as a DM, you should push the incentive that anything that they're looking for magically is going to be out there in the adventure. And chances are you're going to find better shit adventuring than you're ever going to find in town. Constantly give them incentive to not just sit around and shit on the game for 3 hours. You as the DM don't have time for that, and you as a player do not have time for that. Once the game starts, you know, if there's somebody who's going to be whining and crying because he needs a magic bow and the blacksmith can't make him one, just like say, dude, I will put a magic bow in. Just go in adventure. And if you adventure, you will find what you're looking for. And any reward you find where you're adventuring is going to be greater than any reward what you find in the town. The town should be small. The town should be self-contained. The town should sort of be innocuous. You don't want them to get too attached to town. The town should always be safe. So it's kind of boring. So there's really no incentive for them to stay in town waiting for something to happen. Just nothing's going to happen. The town, you know, unless it's part of the plot, the town is safe. The town is just for resupplying and interaction with NPCs and getting your quest and rest. Moving on to the next one, rest. Now in 5e, we have short rests and long rests. If you're playing regular normal 5e, fine. If you're playing hardcore 5e, you might want to change them up. Some games, you know, have rest periods, other games don't. To save time on healing, if they are in town, just say, you know what? Unless it's like a disease or you lost a limb, if you are in an inn and you rest for 24 hours, just fuck, you're healed. I don't care. Oh, I'm down 33 hit points, and so can we waste time another 7 days in town for me to... No, you know what? You took a night's rest. Santa came by. You're healed. Do not waste time. The only reason you should be going to the temple is to either buy healing potions, buy scrolls, consult with the priests, or get those high-level resurrections. Yeah, other than that, if you took 33 hit points and you're like, want to just putter around because you only heal so much per day, no. 1 night's rest, you're healed. Get back out in adventuring. Constantly push that incentive to get them out of the rut of just sitting around and bullshitting in town and wasting time talking about things that have nothing to do with the game. That is not what you're here for. Okay? These are all session 0 things, by the way. And, you know, if everybody's like, no, I don't want that. I want to have my 3 hours of, you know, I'm here to bullshit. Then, like, be fine. Let's bullshit. I'll break out a board game. We can bullshit. We can talk about your, you know, how upset you are about the situation in Alabama and whether you think Joker is insane or not and whatever else. But if we're playing D&D and we've only got 3 hours to play D&D, then we're playing D&D. We can meet beforehand. We can meet afterhand. That moves on to the next one. Set aside bullshit time. So if the game starts at 6:30, let's say, so between 6 and 7, you can say, you know what, this is our bullshit time. We can talk, we can catch up, we can session 0, we can see what they're, you know, things you maybe didn't understand from the last game. Oh, you're really upset about the flooding in South Africa. Let's talk about that for a half an hour. But then the game starts. So set aside bullshit time before and after the game. Also set aside a way the players can talk outside of game. Discord, Facebook, Messenger, any upkeep should not be wasted during the game. You know, if your game every Wednesday, that's 7 days that you could set up out-of-game conversations, out-of-game networking, out-of-game bookkeeping, questions and answers, checking to make sure you have, you know, things, hirelings, stuff that, you know, isn't really important to the plot. Just the day-to-day maintenance of a player character in the world can all be discussed off camera. Set aside that time to bullshit. Set aside that time to have a way to communicate outside the game. So if you're like, you know, I want to look for a 51-foot rope or a +1 bow, or I want to question the priest, or I want to know exactly how much gold we have, or I want to ID these magic items. Set aside that, you know, hour of bullshit before the game, that hour of bullshit after the game, and set aside a way to communicate outside of the game during the week so you can get all the bookkeeping taken care of. So when you start, bam. Next one. Once you start the game, start the game. And the one trick I use is, you know what? I'm going to assume everything you say is something your character said once we're in the game, unless you specifically let me know otherwise. So if you say something like, oh, I think that guy's fucking fat, I'm going to assume that's what your character said. Unless you specifically say, oh no, make me know that this is just off camera stuff. If you need to gossip and pass notes to each other, need to make some jokes, that's fine. We all make jokes, but those things should not break down to an hour of nonsense, okay? We're here to play. So, give them a reason to stay focused in the game and give them an out if they want to, break down and bullshit. Some people use something like raise your hand if you want to talk about something out of the game, or some people say like do this, draw attention to yourself and say, look, I got to go to the bathroom or blah, 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 or you just make a joke. And then, if I say as the DM, oh, is that what you said? You said you can go, no, that was, because otherwise just, we're in the game. The camera's rolling. I'm going to assume if you said it, your character said it because you didn't let me know otherwise. Support me, RC Cola. I will sell out. Timers. This is a huge one. Timers. To keep things going, have a calendar so they know what day they are in the game. Okay, every time they take a rest, mark off a day on the calendar. And timers. Let them know something's going to happen. Hank goes over this in ICRP a lot, and you go over this a lot in Blades in the Dark as well. Timers. Let them know they're on a timer. Have a big D6 that you put in the center of the table to count down until when things are happening. So if they're, getting slow and getting wrapped up and not focusing, start a timer and let them see the timer and let them know, 4 rounds, something's going to happen. Click. 3 rounds, something's going to happen. Oh, you're still bullshitting? Click. Let them see the timer. Let them know they're on timer. Let them know if they're sitting and talking, start rolling dice and let them know that, oh, your talking might attract attention. Because, again, I'm assuming anything you say is in the game. So if you're not moving and you start talking about something like how many arrows you have and whether you should cast a spell or not, or how the computer program for the algorithm for D&D Beyond works, well, the timer's still clicking. I still assume you're in the game. So if you're stopping and talking, then I'm just going to assume, okay, you stopped to talk in the dungeon for about the algorithm for D&D Beyond and your wife's sister's wedding for 20 minutes. Okay, that's fine, but the timer's still ticking. Unless you specifically told me, hey, can we take a break because it's really important for me to tell you this story about my wife's sister's wedding and what my dog did 2 weeks ago and how my cat died when I was 9, then we'll take a break and you can tell us the story. Otherwise, timers. They start talking, they're in the dungeon, throw down a timer. 4 rounds, and if they still talk, just let them see you're counting the timer down. Moving on, in addition to timers, do not hide your dice rolls. I understand screens make things a lot easier, and using this makes things a lot easier, but have it next to you. Do not hide behind a screen. If you need tables, have them next to you, or have the screen like facing this way. So what they see is you, what they see is your paper, what they see is your dice, what they see is the figures. If you're taking figures out, that builds up the anticipation that something's going to happen. Pick up the dice, show them that you're rolling the dice, and let them see the roll. If the timer's ticking down, let them see. If you're rolling spot hidden for your monsters, let them see you're rolling dice. Let them see that their action has consequences. Let them see that the world is moving. and the encounters are happening and the game is progressing. Sure, they can choose to sit around and whine and cry because this magic bow isn't magic enough, or 50,000 gold pieces isn't enough money, or whatever else players want to waste time whining about. But once the game starts, once you're on camera, once that DM time is invested, if they want to bullshit for the LOLs, again, that's fine. Understand, this is their rest time. This is their play time. And maybe it's important for them to talk about their sister's wedding and the cat that died when they were 9. Okay, fine. I assume that not everybody is as OCD as I am. So yes, but also great. That's why we set aside time before the game. We set aside time after the game to bullshit. But once we're in that 3-hour block, if they're bullshitting, fine. But there's consequences. So let them see the timers. Hashtag index card roleplaying. Check out Hank over at Runehammer and all his DM tips. Bottom line, if you say the game starts at 4:30 and ends at 8, and you've also had a session 0, you've also set up a way like a Discord or a Facebook for everybody to communicate in between game to do record keeping, and you're setting aside things like, dude, don't worry about it. I just assume you have it if it's not magic. Don't even bother shopping for it, Just subtract 100 gold pieces from your character sheet every month, or from the group every month, from the group's total treasure, and you have rope, you have all that other shit. You can carry the shit. I'm not going to worry about encumbrance. I'm not going to worry about, mules. I'm not going to worry about movement. I'm not going to worry about things that are going to bog the time down. This is my time. For this 3-hour slot is my time. This 3-hour slot is your time. We all have real lives outside of the game. We all have distractions. So I've set aside time before the game and after the game to bullshit. I've set aside an outside resource for metagaming and time management and bookkeeping. So between the 2 Wednesdays, that 7-day block, we can discuss things and whatever. But once the game starts at 4:30, if we sit down at 4, bullshit for half an hour, 4:30, I drop the screen and say, okay, what are you guys going to do next? Then let them know the camera has started, the game has started, their actions have consequences. You have set aside tools to speed up the game, speed up the investment, because you understand that, hey, I've only got like 3 hours. You've only got 3 hours. So let's play that 3 hours doing what we agreed to do, which is to play D&D. We can bullshit before the game. We can bullshit after the game. We can bullshit in between the game. But if you're going to start bullshitting during my game time, during my fun, during the thing that I spent the last 7 days working on, then, sure, you can. I can't stop you. I can hint that you should keep going. I could hint that, hey, you know what? I don't really appreciate this. We're supposed to be playing. We can talk about this after. But also, the timer started. And if you're in a dungeon or whatever, and you're sitting around going blah, 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 I don't have enough gold, 5,000 gold pieces isn't enough, blah, 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 that is going to attract attention. That is going to keep the incentive to interact with the game going. And you know what? The village isn't that interesting. So there's no need to waste 4 hours of game time puttering around the village. There's nothing there that's interesting. All your needs are met. Your healing is automatic. Unless you lost a limb or you want to buy healing potions, there's no real reason to interact with the priest. Unless you need something identified or you want to buy some scrolls, there's no real reason to interact with the wizard. There's no real reason to waste time in town because everything you need, I just assume you have. If you need new armor, if you need new weapons, sure, you can spend 5-10 minutes with the blacksmith or whatever. If you need a magic bow or whatever, or if you're complaining because 50,000 gold pieces isn't enough, hey, there's a dungeon, there's an adventure. Why don't you go out of the village and look for that 50,000 gold and that magic bow? Because you're not going to find it in the town. You can waste as much time as you want. You're not going to find it in the town. And if you want to start robbing the town to get the 50,000 gold pieces, I'm not going to stop you, but don't be surprised with next game when the 40, 50th level paladins show up because they heard there were a bunch of crazy adventurers killing innocent villagers in my town. Final one, don't let them kill the NPCs. Don't let them really get attached to the NPCs. Make the NPCs interesting enough that they stand out, but not so interesting that they want to spend 20 hours talking to them. Oh, we spent a 3-hour game trying to get the dwarven blacksmith to like us. No. Timers, time-saving tips. This is your time, DM, that 3-hour block. This is their time. We have agreed to set aside this time to play the game. Let's play the game. And if that upsets people, that's something we can talk about. But really, we have so little free time, and there's so much going on outside, in our outside lives, that I think, part of the session 0 is agreeing that we're playing. And here is a bunch of tricks I, as the DM, and you as a player can use to facilitate just being absorbed in the game, being absorbed in those encounters, being absorbed in the world, being absorbed with the magic, being focused on your character. That's, that 3-hour block should just be all about your character and the struggles and conflicts your character deals with as a day-to-day basis as they go about interacting with the world and following whatever story the world is presenting to them and dealing with the multiple conflicts that being an adventurer brings to them. So anyways, that's my DM tip for the day. What are your DM tricks for keeping things motivated and keeping things instigated? Do you agree with me? Do you think I should shut the fuck up? Do you think I'm just being an obsessive compulsive asshole and I should just let players do whatever they want and not worry about it? Let me know what your thoughts are on this topic. Till next time, I am the OGGGM. As always, if you're feeling generous, consider supporting me. I've got new merch. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. And if you haven't checked out this yet, head on over to Runehammer, link down below, and check out all the many DM tips that Hank uses, because most of the things I just said I stole from him. Till next time, get off my land, you damn kids with your damn meddling dog.